about the file service architecture. You know what is file service and what is directory. So we know that files means we are storing an information whenever we want. We need to be retrieve the information. That is what file, and the directory is nothing but the collection of files together we can keep it in a directory. Okay, so now we are going to be see the file service architecture in the distributed system. Okay, the architecture that provides access to the files and the structuring the file service as the three components. One is client module, directory service, and flat file service. So we have three modules. One is client module, another one is flat file service, and another one is the directory service. First we'll see what is a flat file service and the directory service. Who is going to be access those files? The flat file service and the directory service, we know that is export and interface for use by the client programs as well as their RPC interfaces. These two are taken together. What are they? Client programs and their RPC interfaces are taken together and provide a set of operations for access to the file. So these two are done by the client programs, and these two are export. Okay, this directory service and the flat file service are going to be export by the client programs and their RPC interfaces to provide the access to the file. What are the operation needs to provide for the particular access to the files? Okay, so we because the flat file as well as the directory, we need to provide the access rights. We need to provide the access rights for the particular file as well as the directory. The owner of the file or the owner of the directory should give the access rights. So next one is what? Client module. So this is what this will be on the client computer, and this will be the application oriented. So this client module provides a simple programming interfaces with operations on the file that will be similar operations that we are going to be do on the file. That will be found in the conventional file systems. So this will be client programs and the RPCs that they are going to be provide the operations to the particular file access, and the client module is from the simple program. It uses a simple programming interfaces and it provides the operations as like the file. Okay, and this will be found in the conventional file. The client module, the design of the client module, it is an open one. Okay, the design of the client module is an open one, and here the different client modules can be used to implement with the different programming interfaces, and it will be run on run on the different operating systems, and the optimizing the performance for the different client as well as the server hardware configuration. So the client module, we can say it will be implemented with the different programming interfaces, and that will be run on the different operating system. Okay, and for simulating the file operations, and it optimizes the performance for the different client server hardware config. We'll see the one by one. First one is the flat file service. Here the flat file service, I already told you that this will be done by the with the help of, this will be export with the help of the client programs and their RPC interfaces, and always a file, the distributed file system, that is a file service which is having the unique file identifiers, that is a UFID, which is always uses the UFID, that is a unique file identifier, and this will be implementing the operations on the content of the files. The flat file is always concerned with implementing the operations on the content of the files. Yes. What do you mean by why this UFID is required? That is a unique file identifier is required. For why? Because that will be refers to the file in all the records for the flat file service operations. Okay, so always with the help of this one, this file ID only, we need to be refer the particular file. Okay, suppose we store with the help of this file identifier. If you want to retrieve it later, we can refer that one with the help of the UFID. And here the responsibilities between the file server and the directory service is based upon the use of UFIDs only. Both flat file service as well as the directory file service, the responsibilities will be based upon the UFIDs only. How the UFID, we are telling UFID, UFI, that is a unified identifier, how it will be, what will be the structure of that one. That means it is a long sequences of the bits which will be chosen, and each file has a unique, that is UFID, that is unique among all the files in the distributed system. That should not be a common one. Okay, we always use a UFIDs will be the different one, that is a unique among the all files in the distributed system. Whenever the flat file service which is going to be request to create the new file, and it will needs to generate the new UFID, that is a new file, unique file identifier for it, and returns that one to the requester. Okay, so whenever the request is coming, that needs to be create a new file with a new ID, and that will be returns to the requester. Now we'll see the directory. So what directory means, you know. Okay, the collection of files we can call it as a directory. That means even you can keep the collection, the directory, we can keep it in the another directory also, right? For example, if we have some 5 to 6 files we have, that you are going to be keep it in one directory. Okay, and then you have some other directories also, one directory, 2, like that we have. Okay, and we have some files also outside. So all together you can keep it as another directory. So like that we can keep it. So directory you know generally, because you people are using files, all those things. Okay, the directory service always provides the mapping between the text name for the files as well as the and their particular UFIDs. Okay, so always it provides a mapping between the text name for the files and their particular UFID. The clients may obtain the UFID of a file by quoting its text name to the directory service always. How to do is by the client needs to be quote the text name to the directory service. The directory service provides the functions that should be to generate the directories. If you want to add new file names to the directories, and also if you want to obtain the UFID from the directory. So these are the services functions that we are going to be generated in the directory files. If you want to add any new directory or any new file, or if you want to obtain the UFID from the directory, whatever you want, you can do it. These are the functions of the directory service. If a client of the flat file service, its directory files are stored in the file of the flat file service. I told you, right, the flat file service also we need to be stored in the directory file service. If it is this case, we can say this type of thing we can call it as a hierarchical system. Hierarchical system. How we can say, so this is a root directory. So this root directory, okay, and again we have 4 directories are there, D1, D2, D3, D4, and we have some files also, F1, F2, F3. Again in this directory you have some files. So this will be looks like a hierarchical system. Hierarchical system. Next we'll see the client module. So the client modules, okay, I already told you that the client module which will be runs on the each client computer, and it will be integrate and extend the operations of the flat file service and the directory file service. Okay, that will be under the single application programming interfaces that is available to the user level programs in the client programs. Okay, so we can say, I already explained you, this is the client module will be run on the client computer. It needs to be integrate and extend the operations of the flat file service and the directory file service using this single application programming interfaces. Okay, that will be available to the user level program in the client computers. For example, if you take the Unix host, okay, the client module will be provided the full set of the Unix file operations, and it will be interpret the Unix file names by requesting to the directory service. So Unix file system also we can take it as one example for this. Always the client modules will be hold the information about the network location of the flat file server and the directory server. This will hold the location of the network location of the flat file server as well as the directory server. I will explain the now we will see the flat file service interfaces. So it contains the definition of the interface to the flat file. For example, here we are using the RPC interfaces that should be used by the client module, but not by the user level programs. Okay, here we are using the RPC interfaces only by the client level, not by the user level. And why? Because here the RPC interfaces is used by the client modules. Why? Because this is normally it is normally used directly by the user level program. So this will not be normally used directly by the user level programs. It can be used only by the client. Now we'll see about the more fault tolerant comparable to the Unix here. So we'll see some fault tolerance which occurs here when compared with the Unix. That is a comparison with the Unix. Our interfaces will have some fault tolerance in the functionality side. So it is a simpler matter to consider the client module, but that emulates the Unix system calls in terms of the flat file service and the directory side operation, which we discussed earlier. So always while creating the flat file service as well as the directory service, which will be easier in the Unix when compared with our normal interfaces. So that is what we need to be tell first. That means the creation of the flat file service and the directory file service is much more easier than the our interfaces. And in comparison with the Unix interfaces, our flat file service has no open and close operations. Okay, files can be accessed immediately by quoting the appropriate UFID. So here we don't have a no open and hence close also. So we don't have an open and close operations here. Why? Because we need to be here. Our interfaces can be accessed immediately with the help of the appropriate UFID. So there is no open and the close operations here. And the next one is for read write request. In our interfaces includes a parameter. Okay, read write operations in our interfaces, which will be include the parameters that specifies the starting point within the file for the each transfer, whereas the equivalent Unix operations that do not. Okay, that means here we have the read and write operations. See here, read and write operations in our interfaces, which includes a parameter. Why that will be include the parameter, to specify the starting point within the file for each transfer. Each and every time the file is transferring, it needs to be verified the starting point. For that it is using the parameter, but it is somewhat slower operations than the Unix. Okay, Unix it won't support this type of things and all. In Unix, each time they want to read or write, that operation starts at the current position of the read write pointer. So, but here that is a default. Automatically it will be move on to the where it stops. From there only it is going to be read or write. But in our interfaces, it is not like that. We need to use one parameter for searching the position where we need to be start for reading or writing. Okay, and we have a seeking operation also. What do you mean by seeking operation? Yes, seeking operations means obviously we can say that it will be enable the read write pointer to be explicitly repositioned. That is what we are going to be used in the Unix. Unix, I told you right, that is an automatic pointer of where the current position, where we stopped. If the current position, it will be start doing the read write operations again if you want to open the same file. For that we have a seeking pointer, but in this our interfaces we don't have. Okay, that will be with the help of the UFID. It will be start the location, some parameters it is using, and starting location and the UFID from the directory service for read or write. Okay, so these are all the reasons that we need to go for the Unix. But why? Because this is a normal interfaces. Exception of the create, the operations are idempotent and it allows the at least once RPC semantics. The clients may repeat the call to which they receive no reply. Okay, that means at least one semantics means the clients may repeat the call. The client may repeat the call to which they receive a reply. So the client, if it is not receiving the reply properly, the client needs to repeat the call. That is what? At least once RPC semantics. We can say in another thing like it will be repeatedly execution of creating repeated execution of the create. It produces a different new files for each call. Why? Because see, it's repeating the call, right? So each time when it is repeating, there is a possible of it produces the different new files for each call. Okay, that is a problem here. Each time it produces the new file. There is a possibility. We couldn't say always, it may be, may or may not. Okay, so it produces the new file. So in that cases, then we have a memory problem again. And next one is stateless server. Stateless server can be restarted without the server or the client restoring any state information. Okay, the interface is suitable for implementation by the stateless server. But what do you mean by stateless server? It can be restarted. It can be restarted after a failure, okay, and resume the operation without any need for the clients or the servers to restore any state. Is it clear? After any failure, the stateless server, it can be restarted. Okay, restart means what? We are going to resume our operations again. Okay, without any need for the client and the servers to restore any state. Okay, so these are the fault tolerance. These are the fault tolerance which is going to be compared with the help of. Now we'll see some flat file service operations. Here we have a read, write operation, create, delete, get attributes and the set attributes. So these are the, you know some file operations, right? What are the file operations you know? Generally, we can create a file, okay? We can create a file or we can delete the file, okay? Or we can rename the file. Or what are things you can read into the file, read from the file or write into the file. So these are the file operations that you know. These are, now we'll see one by one. The file ID. See, they want to read the file. If I want to read any file, what I should give there? How to open the file with the file ID. Okay, file ID and where it needs to be opened. Which point? Okay, and the N. N represents the number of bits. Okay, I is nothing but starting length of the file. It reads a sequence up to the N items. Okay, if you write that this is a length. Okay, so it will be starting point and where it is going to be stop the file. Okay, stop reading the file. So suppose if the file ID is invalid, if the file ID is invalid here, what you can say, if the file is not present in the server, processing request or if can access permissions or inappropriate for the particular operations. So if I'm giving the file ID here, so instead of my file name is add, okay, instead of that I am giving add 1 or you can say I am giving the capital A, instead of small a I am giving the capital A. If it is this case, what will be the response? That means the file ID is invalid. So if it is invalid means what? The file is not present in the server. Okay, if the file is not present in the server, obviously the permissions are inappropriate for accessing the particular operation. Okay, so always the file ID what the users are going to be given, that should be a valid one. Okay, that is the first one. And here writing operations also you see the file ID is required. Okay, and I is the position where they are going to be start, and what are the data that are going to be write, the data should be here in the third page. So here the read and the write operations require the parameter I. That is compulsory, it requires a parameter I that specifies the position in the file. I already told you that where it reads, where it's going to be read from and where they want to be writing. Okay, so always the I is it specifies both field, and the I specify it tells about the position of the file, where it going to be start. Okay, and the read operation is copy the sequence of n data items in beginning of the item that will be specified into the data. Okay, it's fine. So read operation completed, write operation completed. N represents the number of bits that what you are going to read, and this is the data that you are going to write into the file. And next one is the create. Create means create a new file. Okay, and the length. Create the new file of the length. Okay, length is not mandatory always. It will be automatically the length will be given once if you create it, and delivers the UF ID. You are going to be given the new file ID for that. That is what create. Creates a new file and empty file and returns to the UF ID, and that will be generated. Okay, so we need to, create the new file, and that should be the empty file. While I am creating the file, that may be obviously first time it should be an empty file, and that will be returned to the UF ID. Delivers to the UF ID. And next one is delete a file. So while deleting the file, again I need to mention the file name. Then only we know that which file we are going to be deleted. Okay. So delete removes a specified file. The file name should be entered here. Here also, the file name should, if the file is an invalid ID, then we couldn't delete the file. So already the file should be in an existing file, then only we can delete it. And the next one is get attributes. Returns the file attributes for the file. What do you mean by get attributes and the set attributes? It enables the clients to access the attribute record. It enables the clients to access the attribute record. Okay, so this is what going to be get the attributes from the particular file, and this is going to be set the attributes, set the file attributes, only those attributes that is not shaded in the normally available to any client. Okay, that is allowed to read the file. So get attributes just will be normally available for any clients for that is allowed to read the file. So this is what any client that will be used to allow the files to allow the client to get the attributes. And the set attributes that will be maintained separately by the flat file service itself. So the set attributes will be separately maintained by the flat file service itself. Next we'll see the access control. That already I told you that what is access control, and we will see again in the Unix file system. Okay, the Unix checks the access rights when the file is open always. The Unix, now we are going to be see the access control in the Unix file system. The user access the rights or checked against the access mode. Okay, that will be requested in the open call that shows the Unix file system, and the file is open only if the user has the necessary rights. Okay, and here also the UID, that is here also we are using an unique ID, and that is used in the access rights to check the retrieved during the user's earlier authentication login and cannot be tampered with the non-distributed implementations. So always whenever it allows the clients to come inside, there itself it is going to be check the access rights, whether the particular client is having access rights of reading the file or writing the file, everything that needs to be checked here, and the resulting access rights are retained until the file is closed. So once the client is entered, so this is client and this side is server, okay, and the client is entering. I told you beginning itself, the previous unit 1 itself I explained you, whenever the client is sending the access request, okay, here itself they will check the access rights. Okay, with the help of one file will be there, the user client ID and what are the access rights they are having for the particular file, and file ID also will be there. So based upon that it will be allow the server, and later it should not be a problem. So beginning itself the server allowing the client for the particular checking those things and allowing inside. Okay, so once the client enter, then after checking the access right, the server needs to be open the file, and that will be the client access will be given to that particular file. So once before until the file is going to be closed, the client having an that particular access to do it that particular access operations on that particular file. Okay, that is what access control. See, each time the access checks for the request. First one, the access checks once when a UFID is issued. This is the first time. And access checks for each request. Even though it will be checked. First time it will be checked for the particular file ID, and the next one for each and every request for the particular ID. Check is made whenever a file name is converted to a UFID also. And the results are encoded in the form of the capability which is returned to the client for the submission with the subsequent request. And here we have a user identity. I told you that the UFID is there, and that will be submitted with every client request. Every time when the client is submitting, the request identity should be submitted along with that, and the access checks for the performance by the server for every file operations. So this is what generally we will do. And the second one is very more common, used in the both NFS and the AFS. NFS means network file system. AFS means ANDU file system. So there may be so many file systems we are having. So the second one is common for all, but the first one is only that will be common. That will be for only for few applications that is going to be used. But the second one is common for most of the applications, because on each and every request they need to be checked the identity. Next one is the directory service operations. So here we have three. One is lookup. Sorry, we have four operations: lookup, add name, unnamed, and the get name. So lookup. What do you mean by lookup? That is searching. Lookup means searching the directory. It contains a RPC interface into the directory service, and the primary purpose of the directory service is to provide the service for translating the text name to the UFID always. Whatever the text name you are giving for the directory name, that will be converted into the UFID always with the help of the RPC interfaces. Okay, so why we need to maintain the UFID here? Obviously the name should be unique, then only we can search it easily. If the name is repeating, if you have more than one file with the same name, how we can see? If I have a directory here, two directories, three directories I am having. Okay, so here also I have a file A, and here also I have a file A, here also I have a file A. This is directory 1, directory 2, directory. Even though it is in the different directory. Okay, so that may be not a problem in this directory, and that is it is not a problem in this directory. But if you come for overall searching, okay, the file is available, same name, the three files are available. So this will be avoided. For that we need to be provide always the unique file IDs. Okay, so it needs to be maintained the directory file that contain the mapping between the local names for the files as well as the UFIDs. Okay, each directory will be stored in the conventional file with the help of the UFID, and the directory so that the directory service is a client of the file service. Okay, now we'll see the one by one the operation. First one is a lookup operation. It's a basic directory service operation that will be perform the searching operation. Okay, with a single name, or we can say that UFID translations. Okay, so it is a one which is going to be used for searching that. So always you just see here. So lookup and the directory name, I already told you, it will be locates the text name in the directory and returns the relevant UFID. So always it will be searching, and that will be returned to a relevant UFID of the particular directory will be written. If the name is not in the directory, it will be through the exception. The particular directory what we are looking up, it is not in the server, then what will be happen? Then it will be through the exception, that means the file is not there. Okay, next one is add name. If you want to add directory or add any file into the directory, okay, then the name will be given, and this is the directory which where it is, and the name of the directory, and so this is a function. Add name is a method, and this is the directory name. What is the name, that is which file they are going to be added. If the name is not in the directory, then you can add it. But already the particular name, already the same name, some other file will be there, then we couldn't add it. So that is what and updates the file attributes record. Once if you add it, then we can update the file attributes record. So already what the file that you are going to be add, that same name will be existed, then we couldn't add it, then also we have an error, it throws an exception. And the next one is unnamed. If the name is the directory, the entry containing the name is removed from the directory. Unnamed means what? Removing the directory from the particular you can remove the entire directory, or you can remove only some particular file in the directory. That also you can do with the help of the unnamed. And get name. It returns all the text names in the directory that match with the regular expression. See the hierarchical system, directories contain the other directories and the files. So I already told you that this hierarchical system, how it looks with the help of the directory and the file system. Here I already told you that how the hierarchical file system will be. So this will be the root directory means, and we have some directories there, D1, 2, 3, and we have files also. This is F1, F2, like that we have some file, and again in this directory will contain some file, and like this. So this will be looks in the, for example, so this file I want to be, so this is the file R, or you can read. So this is the file name. I want to access this file. So what will be the path? It starts from the root node and it will be move on to the particular directory, and the path will be move on to the particular file. 10 minutes. So like that the path will be existing. Okay. So the root has the distinguished name, and each file of a directory has a name in the directory. Okay, and the Unix file naming system is not a strict hierarchy. Files can have several names, and that can be same or the different directories. So I already told you that suppose if you are having same name A and A, so here this name, and if you have a file name A also sometimes. Okay, so if it is a different directory, we don't have a problem. But while searching it may be a problem. We couldn't know that which file is this one we are going to search, or this one we are going to be search. For that we need to give the different file ID always. And root of the tree is a directory that should be well known UFID, and multiple names for the files can be supported using the add name operations, and the reference counter field will be there in the attribute record. So for example, if this directory, I am having 3 files, I want to add another one more file in the particular directory. Again I should start from here and come here, and it will be take. So once if you are coming this, so it takes a path from here, and it will come to the particular directory, and it will be add the file here. So that also path is required. Even if you want to add a file, delete the file, or search the file, whatever it may be, the path is required in the. So if it is a hierarchical file systems, it will be very easy. Always the graphical representation will be more easier to the, more understandable to the user, and compared with the other representation of how it is in Unix and the Windows. Windows we know generally in the Windows how we create the folder wherever it is required, and inside the folder we are creating. So if I want to search anything in that, how can I go and search it? I should go to that particular folder and I search it one by one, like that I need to be searching. But if on a Unix file system we have some commands to search easily. Okay, so we have a commands. For example, if you do ls, what will happen? It will be list all the files in the particular directory. So like that we can get easily. When compared with the Unix, when Windows is somewhat, it takes more time. Next we'll see the file groups. What do you mean by file groups? A file group means what? It is a collection of files which is going to be located on a given server. Okay, single server, you are going to be keep some collection of the collection of files that we are going to be grouped together. We can call it as a file group. Okay, the server may hold several file groups, and the groups may be moved between the servers, but the file cannot change the group to which belongs. Okay, so we will see one by one. The server can have more than one group. Obviously, the server we couldn't say that always only one file group it will be. So we are having more than one file group we have. And the file groups are originally introduced to support the facilities of moving the collection of files which is stored in the removable media between the computers. If I want to, first, if I open my laptop, there will be some file, or in the desktop fully some files are there, or if I open any drive, there will be some lots of files will be there. If it is there, that means even I itself will be confused. So what I need to do, I'll make it as I'll create one folder, and I'll keep it all the files together in the particular folder. Then what will happen in that case is, it is easier to identify the files where it is located. Okay, so always that if you keep like this, it will be very good for you. Okay, in a distributed file system, the file groups, it always supports the allocation of the files to the file servers in a large logical units, and it will be enable the service can be implemented with the file stored on the several servers. And also the distributed file system actually supports a file groups. Why? Because the representation of the UFID, it includes a file group identifier components and enabling the client module in the each client computers to take the responsibility of dispatching the request to the client module in the each computer. Simply I can say the distributed file system, it supports the file group. Why? Because the representation of the UFID, it always includes a file group identifier. Okay, instead of giving the file identifier, it is going to be enable the file group identifier. For that, a client module will be enabled in each client computer to take the responsibility of dispatching the request to the server that holds a relevant file group. Okay, just see, I already told you, if you are searching a single file, that will be very difficult. If you are searching in a group, it may take, the time is very less. Okay, and a group can change the server also sometimes. Okay, that means a group, if I want to remove that particular file group from one server to another server, also I can change it immediately. That also within the short period I can transfer the file. Why? Because I make it as a group. So there is no problem in that also. And the file system in a Unix is very faster, I already told you. And the different devices for the non-distributed system is required. For transferring or for this file group, we need a different devices it's required, and if it is a distributed system, only different hosts are required. Okay, there is a difference in non-distributed system and the distributed system. If it is a centralized system, different devices are required for this creation of the file group. Okay, but if you go for the distributed system, different hosts are required. So that is the difference between the non-distributed system. And a file group is created, always it should be created with a group identifier. Okay, and that should consist of two fields. One should be consist of the IP address, that consists of 32 bits, and next will be the date when the file group is created. When the file group is created, and that should consist of 16 bits. Okay, so this is what the file group identifier contains. It consists of two fields. First field will contain the IP address. Second field contains the date when the file is created, and this IP address means which system is created, where the host created. Okay, that IP address is required. So that is 32 bits, and the date should be the 16 bits. That's all about the file group. Thank you.